Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. So thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. Yes, it was a wonderful weekend. I had the opportunity to hang out with my wonderful husband, and we drove up to Louisiana to see the New Orleans Saints and pregame with the Jackson Jaguars. So that was really cool. I got to see, um, oh gosh, now I can't think of his name, the quarterback from Jacksonville. And playing right now because last year, I want to say late last year, his ankle, he got injured. And so, I know he played like some of the games, but like during the season he got injured. So it was really cool to be able to see. I'm so mad I'm forgetting his name. Oh, why can't I think of his name? Like it's at the tip of my tongue, and I'm like, I remember his name because I call him the blonde one, and maybe I need to stop doing that. And I the only reason I say it like that is because like when he was at Clemson, his hair is like really long and flowy, and he would just kind of like fling his hair after he had his football helmet on. And I was like, okay, he's the blonde one, and he's just tall and he's beautiful, very amazing athlete. And I'm so mad. Like I'll figure out his name like later on. But anyway, he's number 16, Jackson Jaguars. They had a good game. They actually won over the New Orleans Saints. Wasn't bad. Wasn't bad. Dr. C, thank you so much for reposting the stream. And she says, greetings, founder. Greetings to you, Dr. C, and thank you for joining us this morning. Um, guess what else did I get to do? Well, that was the bulk of the day, right? Because a lot of it was driving. We drove back and forth. But I did share in a post, and I'm so sorry. I meant to say I'm here, and that says I'm here's, plural, just typing too fast. And I was a little emotional because, when I sat there in the dome, and I shared this in my post, it was like a height of emotions because I'm so grateful that they repaired the dome right after Katrina. But what broke my heart is to look at that dome and to know some of the things that went on inside of there. And my husband actually, while he was still serving in the army, was deployed to go to the Superdome and help with the people in there and cleaning up and, you know, trying to look after people. And he was like, yeah, it was just what everybody said on TV. There were people that had been raped. There were people, there were gangs that were, forcing their will on people. He goes, it was a lot of devastation that went on in that Superdome. And he had shared those things with me before we went. We've been married. It'll be 7 years this year, but just being there with him and talking with him through some of that. Sorry. I just got really emotional, you know. And so I was having like this run of emotions because again, I was really happy that the city could come together and celebrate and be there for their team and to root them on, and everybody seemed to be having a good time. But again, at the same time, I'm looking around this building that we're in and just knowing so much devastation that went on. And it just, inside, it just really broke my heart. It hurt, because I don't know, maybe it hits everybody a little bit differently. You know, I remember watching the television and seeing the people making the track from where they were and walking on the interstate because that was the only way they could get there because there was so much water. And that was the only way they could stay on dry ground. But again, like I said, just the rapes and the homicides that happened in that building, and then the dead bodies that were outside of the building everywhere. I mean, it was a really devastating time. I'm truly grateful. Nothing like that has happened, but, we don't need to forget the people in Asheville, North Carolina, that suffered their devastation in the flood, earlier this year, and also in Texas. They suffered devastating flooding as well in their areas. So we need to keep those families in our prayers and, just make sure, just at some point, you don't just gloss over the headlines, right? And that's what I try not to do here at Unfiltered Vision News. I try to be very intentional about the information I'm bringing you because I want you, as consumers of the information in the news, to think through what I'm giving you, do further research, but also be aware of what's happening in your area because I might cover a topic and you may live in that city. We all live in the United States, so a lot of topics I cover are pretty, blanketed to cover individuals here in the United States. But some of the information I cover is very specific to states and cities. So yeah, like I said, it was a great weekend, but emotionally, that really, really just kind of it hit me, it jarred me, and it just reminded me of how far we've come. And I'm so grateful that they're still building in Louisiana. I think they still have a ways to go, you know, but I'm grateful that they're on the upswing, and I pray that they continue to stay in that trajectory. Oh, sassy lady, thank you so much for joining us this morning and reposting the stream. And with that, we're going to get into some news. I was going to start in a different direction, but you know what? I kind of want to start with someone that I've used his videos before. I really like him as Cash Jordan, and he sharing some information in his video. It was a little disturbing to me that I was like, whoa, this is different. So I definitely want to share this with you guys.
Pentagon's crosshairs. And it's not just the wall anymore. Trump wants to take the fight to El Chapo's front yard.
So President Trump has told the U.S. military to get rid of South American cartels once and for all. But progressive activists say taking the fight south of the border will just exacerbate relations with Mexico, who critics speculate is secretly fueling radical protests taking over America, while protecting the very gangsters who've made billions flooding our border with illegal immigrants for years. Until now.
Javelin missiles are a lethal weapon in war, targeting the enemy from above where their armor is thinnest. The addition of this weapon has made this brigade one of the most modern and lethal in the United States Army.
Do you think it's worth sending our forces, our U.S. forces there to take this on?
Latin America's got a lot of cartels. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years.
Earlier this year, the president came out with Tom Homan. They qualified the Mexican cartels as a foreign terrorist organization.
He's going to wipe you off the face of the earth. You're done.
We go on every op knowing that nothing's going to be perfect and that we're going to have to adjust. We've always targeted the cartels. That's nothing new. That's one of our primary missions is going after the cartels.
Once again, President Trump continues to show his commitment towards the American public. This is what people voted for, right? At the same time, you're seeing on the other side, you're seeing the true colors of groups of individuals that, they keep putting roadblocks, and their commitment seems to be to defend criminals.
So Mexico's president just came out in defense of Venezuela's dictator, saying he's not part of some criminal empire, which, as far as I'm concerned, tells you all you need to know about those who are aligned against the idea of taking out these cartels. And what nobody's talking about is if these cartels do get taken out, it'll be the end of Mexico and some of these other countries as we know it. But not in the way most people think. You see, these cartels get rich off the US border in more ways than one. Not just by smuggling contraband, but also by smuggling illegal immigrants, which earned them $13 billion in 2024, something which also greatly helps the Mexican government at the exact same time. Because if someone is poor and can't provide for themselves, they are no longer Mexico's responsibility once they cross the US border, winding up in a sanctuary state like California, where they get free healthcare and are protected from being turned over to ICE if they get arrested. On top of that, it's reported that the Mexican cartels have infested every level of their country's government, which explains why their military can't ever seem to stop these criminals who've dominated swaths of land just south of our border for decades. Which brings us to the real reason the Mexican government and some of these other countries' governments are totally against the idea of the US doing what they've promised to do for years, but have somehow never seemed to accomplish. The power structure in these countries depends on an alliance with a criminal underworld that's grown to proportions most people don't even understand. However, getting rid of these gangsters would actually be a good thing for many law-abiding citizens, like those in Mexico who just want to provide for themselves and their families without living under the fist of the criminal underworld pillaging their society. And ours in America to a degree most people are not even aware of.
How much influence do you think the Mexican cartels have in the city you currently live in? I want to show you the map. Look at this one here. They are coming to a city near you.
You think these cartels are just content with running Mexico? No, they want to run your neighborhood, my neighborhood, your backyard, your town, your legislature, you name it. And that's because criminal empires, they don't stop growing unless you stop them, which, as you're about to see, is the plan.
And it's not just the wall anymore. Trump ordered the kill shot. The days of local busts and random motels, they were fun, but that's Breaking Bad stuff. Trump wants to take the fight to El Chapo's front yard.
We're talking about sending military forces to fight against the cartels in Latin America. Do you think it's worth sending our forces, our U.S. forces there to take this on?
Cartels where?
Central Latin America.
Well, Latin America's got a lot of cartels. We want to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years. And we love this country like they love their countries. We have to protect our country. So, we're playing a tough game.
According to the New York Times, behind the scenes, Trump's moving all the pieces into place to pull this off.
So what does he mean by pieces? Well, for months now, U.S. drones have been flying over Mexico, surveilling their territory. We know exactly where these cartels are, what they're up to, and in many cases, we know that information before the Mexican government knows it, because they don't seem to want it. Now, the purpose of flying drones over Mexico is being done to secure our border, not to invade Mexico. However, that may soon change, as their government, for some reason, has failed to take these criminals out on their own like they've promised. And since the greatest military in the history of the world knows exactly where the bad guys are camping out, it's almost a foregone conclusion that there will be some action in the near future to stop them from committing crime and hurting people.
Mexico's got a big problemo.
Yes, but it has nothing to do with Mexican territory.
Oh, it doesn't?
It has to do with their country. It does not involve our territory.
So it would be within the United States?
Within the United States.
Exactly. You kidding me?
El Presidente doesn't comprehend.
Right, so you have a gang of criminals who are heavily armed and have a base in your country, but for some reason that's an American-made problem. That is such a misguided talking point. What a scam idea that is. The idea that cartels exist because of America and American corruption. If that's the case, how do these guys have a safe house where they can fly drones over our country repeatedly without any worry of law enforcement breaking down the door and arresting people while they try to exploit every potential weakness they see here? And why is it when these criminals commit crime in America, they always seem to escape, traveling back across the border before the good guys can catch them, with no Mexican soldiers waiting on the other side to do anything? That's a little weird, isn't it?
But this is a tremendous step they're taking.
All right, so they could seize some guys off the field and bring them here and put them on trial. Could they also just drone strike these cartel bad guys right in their backyard?
You know, that's a lawyer question, but I'm going to give you the common sense answer. If their cartels are in the United States and the MS-13 and Tren de Aragua gangs are, Why can't we their leaders just the same way President Trump pointed out we took care of Soleimani?
That
So
would be
they're
an imminent threat, right? That's an imminent threat to the life and well-being of the American citizenry.
He's 100% right. And these cartels, these are not being run by people who have the best interest of anyone except themselves at heart. No, they don't exist for the benefit of the Mexican people, perhaps the Mexican government, but certainly not their own people, nor people in America. And if you get rid of these criminal organizations, you give the people of Mexico the opportunity to take back their country. And you know something, if there's any military action in Mexico, it will not be a prolonged conflict. And after a few highly publicized, successful operations, the border is going to go quiet almost immediately. The message will be received that if you want to be a criminal, you better take your crimes somewhere else. And these thugs, they would do just that.
Absolutely. And I think the rationale we use for other terrorists we've through multiple administrations, Barack Obama still, I think, holds the record for the number of drone strikes, including one U.S. citizen. So I think President Trump deciding that these guys who are definitely running people with human trafficking, those are things that I think all of America can look at and say, we don't need to allow that. And anything we do to them is probably justified at this point.
Now, the Mexican president,
that's the thing. These criminal organizations have been able to do this, and they've been able to do it from the safety of Mexico. Mexico could take action against this, but they won't for some reason. Does that mean the Mexican leadership hopes Trump does something to get rid of these criminal organizations while they publicly condemn it? Will that help them? Or do they prefer to just sit back and wait and see what happens because they've got no other choice than to condemn U.S. actions? These are big questions. And another big question is what exactly would happen to Mexico if these cartels and the illegal immigration operations they help facilitate across the U.S. border disappear? After all, if all of the individuals in sanctuary states like California getting free healthcare were somehow, once again, the responsibility of the Mexican government, what would that do to their economy? And is there potentially a financial incentive for keeping these cartels in power, hoping that in 4 years the U.S. border will reopen and business as usual can continue? But what's fascinating is even as we talk about all of the damage the cartels are doing in America, it's recently come out that they're doing quite a lot of damage in Mexico too. They're a friend of nobody but themselves.
In the Sinaloa cartel, some of Mexico's most powerful criminal organizations are now expanding their criminal operations into a wide range of violent and high-profit crimes. CJNG and the Gulf cartel are now directly involved in stealing crude oil from Mexico's state-owned Pemex. That crude oil is then smuggled across the Texas border and sold on the black market, a scheme so large that the U.S. Treasury recently sanctioned 26 entities in connection to
That's
it.
crazy.
La Nueva Familia Michoacana has also expanded their operations to include illegal mining and targeting and extortion of mining companies across Guerrero and Michoacan. The group is also smuggling weapons across the Guatemala-Mexico border, give them access to additional arms and influence. The Sinaloa.
So this cartel, which Mexico says is America's problem, by the way, look at what they're doing in Mexico that nobody's talking about. Here you've got a state-owned oil company, which should exist for the benefit of Mexico itself. And what are these guys doing? They're stealing the oil and selling it on the black market to criminals. And why are they doing this? Well, the U.S. border is closed. Their smuggling business, bringing illegal immigrants into our country, isn't what it used to be. And since everything these guys have to do to survive.
Now, I'll start the video again, but I just wanted you guys to kind of catch that. Like, the criminal activity in Mexico is off the chain, but also in some of these videos, they were going back like to 2023 and showing like all of the mass migration. And now those same areas, there's nobody there. Like, no, it's zero. Okay. Zero. And if there were like the one or two people that are trying to come over there, deterred and turn right back around. Yeah. So the border could have always been shut down. They just didn't want to do that. We talked about this on this show. The replacement migration is real. The United Nations document replacement migration that was done in the year 2000 is real.
Must be criminal. That's one of their requirements. Now they're just plundering their own people. Something they've been doing for a long time, controlling an entire country who never voted for them or elected them, but is totally defenseless in the face of their tyranny.
Mexican president, she's played nice so far on trade, but it's a big no bueno, she says, if we start launching direct action into her territory. It's not even really her territory. I guess technically it is, but the cartels control almost that entire country. What does that do to Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, that is not her decision. You know, she's the one who runs a country that allows that to happen. So if she wants to go ahead and try and tell President Trump, we can't do that, we're going to do what we need to, and she's going to go ahead and face the consequences. That's something they've allowed for far too long.
They have. And you know something? The entire world is worse off because of it. Not just Mexico, not just the United States, but these criminals, they export their crime everywhere they can. They team up with criminals in other parts of the world to do other things that destabilize law-abiding societies everywhere. And there are some people who think action should have been taken sooner across our border with Mexico instead of waiting for the false promises of their government, which included a massive crackdown that has never happened, which is why we're even having this conversation. And fascinatingly, this article says that according to one businessman from Sinaloa, where a massive cartel operates, he says the cartels have always been present, but it was isolated. And if you were not involved with them, you could live an honest, peaceful life. Those days are over, he lamented. You simply cannot avoid or escape the cartel's presence, whether it's violence, extortion, theft. And he's calling on President Trump to come in and save his country, something his own government has refused to do. And the excuse is that this is an American-made problem, that the cartels operating out of safe swaths of territory just across the U.S. border in Mexico only exist because of the American government. This entire viewpoint is what progressives say and think about America and the open border. They always want to say that it's America's fault, that criminality is something the U.S. created and now wants to stamp out, and that all of the efforts you see happening in America from ICE and this whole idea of military action in the country of Mexico to stamp out these criminals is wrong and just represents another example of American overreach, because these individuals feel that America is the problem in the world. Just look at the protests, which many say are funded in part by foreign organizations who don't want America cracking down and bringing law and order back to its shores at all. At the same time, we find out that these criminal organizations, they don't just commit crime in America. Yes, this is their biggest market, something a wide open border allowed them access to for the last 4 years, but that's now over. However, they're also stealing from their own people. They're committing crime in other areas of Central and South America, and it's not that these criminal organizations prefer to be isolated. There have been reports of Tren de Aragua and MS-13 gang members working on behalf of cartels to further exploit people once they wind up at asylum shelters in sanctuary cities like New York, places where these gang members end up setting up shop, where for 4 years they watched new populations.
And I wanted to pause it because I know a lot of people are saying that, but yeah, you know, Trump made them terrorist organizations. He did. He did. But until they are found, to Jordan's point, or I'm sorry, to Cash's point, they're still operating low key, right? They're not drawing necessarily too much attention to themselves. And the people that they're terrorizing, they're like, if you say something, we'll kill you, we'll kill your family. You know what I mean? Like, they are constantly under threat from these people. And these individuals know if they are in LA, if they're in Illinois, if they're in New York, they're going to be able to hide within these sanctuary cities. And the governments there are not going to do anything to these people. They're going to protect them. This is the crazy part. Like, it's almost like criminal behavior is to a point where you're really wondering, like, okay, who can we trust in government and who's really out here to solve the issue? Or are they all paid off and they're just making each other look bad until they can find a way to continue this perpetual cycle of criminal behavior? Like, it's really crazy to me.
Of quote-unquote asylum seekers arrive at these buildings, and afterwards they went about putting these individuals to work in some capacity. You can join up with them and steal things. You can sell things on the streets, but one way or the other, you are paying off the debts these smugglers and cartels gave you when you crossed the border without permission with their help. Nobody's benefiting from this at all, except the corrupt, who who want these processes to continue and hope that in 4 years they start doing so once again. What do you think about that? Would getting rid of these dangerous cartels and organizations be a good thing in the countries where they operate, the countries they control with their criminality? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.
Okay. Now, that was great. Now, this is something that really stunned me.
Cities across the country on notice, giving them 1 week to comply with federal immigration laws or face action from the Justice Department. Former acting ICE Director Jonathan Fahey joins me now to talk about this. Thank you, sir, for your thoughts, for your thoughts on this topic. I want to get right to this. AG Bondi's effort, will this work? Will cities comply? Do they have to comply?
I think by and large, yes, it will work. And yes, they have to comply. And here's why it will work. They're putting pressure on these sanctuary cities, and certainly some of them are going to fight sort of to the end. But just since the beginning of the Trump administration, this Trump administration, there have been 761 jurisdictions have joined the 287G program, which is a program with localities cooperating with ICE. So they've already inspired so much local cooperation, which is one of the reasons for having so much success at the border. But the consequences for these sanctuary cities are really severe, and they're going to start facing them. And when I'm talking about consequences, I'm talking about criminal investigations for things like obstruction of justice, but also for alien harboring, because it's a federal felony if you do anything to shield or harbor an illegal alien and from detection from ICE. And these sanctuary cities have been doing just that by hiding them from ICE, making it more difficult for ICE to reach them, to deport them, to detain them. So they're going to face criminal not only prosecutions, but investigations that will be substantially expensive for whatever locality, plus they may not like the ultimate result. So yes, it will be effective, and yes, it has been effective. And, we're seeing the results, not only in crime rates in certain places, but also on the border.
Yeah, it's very interesting because some of these cities have actually doubled down on their sanctuary policies in recent, since the election. Jonathan, I also want to get your thoughts on the nation's capital. They've reached an agreement with the Trump administration after suing over the administration's takeover of the city police force. Turns out the police will continue to be led by their leader that they have had. What do you make of it all?
I think this is actually, it's going to still be a very good thing because, the police are now, they're cooperating with ICE. They've agreed to do that. And you had, Todd Lyons on earlier talking about how important that is, having that cooperation so ICE can get the most dangerous criminals off the streets and deported. And that helps everyone in the city, not just, public safety, but also resource wise. And so that, going back to another guest that you had on earlier, talking about the defund the police movement, it really impacted DC significantly. They were down about 800 officers from where they want to be. So bringing these extra resources and these federal resources, not only is it going to help immediately with the law enforcement, but it's also going to be a great deterrent. So we are going to see drastic decreases in crime. And just remember, during the Biden administration, particularly in D.C., they had their 4 highest years of murder rates in over 20 years during the Biden administration, because a lot of it was not enough law enforcement resources, but also their focus was on things like political prosecutions, prosecuting Donald Trump, J6, and that took their eye off the ball from violent crime, which is most impactful for most people. So all of these things are going to be very effective, not only in the short term, but I really think long term as well.
Yeah, interesting in Washington, and also interesting to see what happens in sanctuary cities across the nation in the week ahead. Thank you, Jonathan Fahey. We appreciate you. Hey.
Okay, so you hear what he said, and I've been talking to you guys about this, right? About a federal violation by these cities and states. And I wanted to bring it up because even though he didn't quote the actual statute, the statute is Title 8, USC Code 1324. And this is a federal law that criminalizes various acts related to illegal entry, transportation, harboring. He mentioned harboring and encouragement of aliens, non-U.S. nationals, to enter or remain in the United States. we've got, the top 3 states, California, Illinois, and New York, constantly telling people, hey, we'll protect you if you come to our state. You have sanctuary here. Karen Bass says it ad nauseum. So does Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, and Brandon Johnson. Also, Eric Adams is still on the hook for this, along with Kathy Hochul. Now, with Eric Adams, he jumps in and out of, well, I'm still working with the Trump administration and illegals shouldn't be here, but you're still supporting illegals on the background, still complaining that you don't have enough funding to support these people, or you want to say, well, we just don't want the violent criminals that come over the border. They're all criminals, sir, violent or not. What? What are we doing? But I'm so glad that AG Pam Bondi is finally, moving forward with this and giving them 1 week to comply. I'm glad. Because now we can actually see some movement in this area. Hopefully there will be grand jury indictments so we can actually see the implementation of this federal law. It is here. It is on our books. We have it. It just needs to be enforced. That's all. I know a lot of people out there may not like President Trump, but the one thing he did say, he was like, it wasn't that the border couldn't be closed. You just needed a president that would do it. You know what I'm saying? You just needed somebody who was going to just follow the law. An amazing concept, right? And this is the unfortunate, I should say, political climate that we live in, because I know these people are being used politically. Those that have come over the border, they're being used as a pawn, whether it is to garner more votes by the Democratic Party, whether that is, using cheap labor. And see, these aren't the only violations. We don't think about the people that are under HB1s. And they may not necessarily be here illegally, but corporations are using them to undercut American workers. And we're going to go over that tomorrow and Tell It All Tuesday. I found out some interesting information about the HB1 visas. And the other unfortunate part about the HB1 visas, even if somebody, gets status, they're able to bring over family members who aren't vetted. And that doesn't make us any safer as a country. And so those are the things that we really, really need to think about, right? Because we want to live in a safe country. We want to have our country be ours. So with that, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to continue on with the Monday recap, and we'll see you on the other side.
The browsers of today are broken. They've been overtaken by a barrage of sneaky and annoying ads, trackers that follow your habits, and cookies that build profiles, and all sorts of other internet clutter that's taking precedence over the content that you want to see. In fact, these useless bites can take up to a whopping 50% of page load times, with a third of it anxiously trying to learn more about you. To make matters worse, some ad blockers are even letting ads through when large advertisers pay them. But do you really want a leaky ad blocker? It's because of these very reasons that we developed Brave, a new browser that kicks internet crud to the curb and makes it faster, safer, and better to surf the web than your current browser. With Brave, everything you need is built right in. We integrated technology that automatically blocks trackers, annoying ads, and shields everything that can cramp your style and destruct your privacy. With it, you can expect increased speeds nearly 2 times faster on laptops and up to 4 times faster on mobile. And unlike any other browser, Brave allows you to support your favorite publishers with automatic micropayments, so it's a win-win for you and your favorite sites. To top it all off, Brave is open source because we truly believe it's our web and we need to fix it together. So ask yourself this question. Do you want a web browser made for the internet of today? If so, try Brave. It's faster, safer, and ad-free.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And so I wanted to bring us this next video. Now, this video is something that I have talked about before on our show, and this is really going into Islam. And I know I've talked before where, there are people that I do know that are Muslim that practice the Islamic faith that are very peaceful, and they're not necessarily the we hate Christians, we think Christians are this, that, and the other. They just practice their religion of Islam, period. They're just not, and, for me, I definitely, pray for Muslims that they can be peaceful, but then there are those that aren't and who really want the implementation of Sharia law within the United States. And I came across this video by Officer Tatum, and I wanted to share it with you guys because, they, and when I refer to the they, I'm talking about those in the Islamic faith. They really feel that they have a right to come and, destroy Christian nations. It's wild. But let's check out this video.
What we as Muslims want to implement here in the United States, we believe the Constitution should be replaced by the Quran.
First move that I will do, I will abolish the Constitution and I will establish the only logical and rational constitution, which is the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Islam will be spread by two ways: through the importation of Muslims into your country, or the spread of lower income, dominantly minority men.
The only way for leftism to win permanently is to import a group of people that fundamentally hates the American freedom. That happens to be Islam.
The ones who peacefully doing their thing, they no different than anybody else. But the ones who say Western civilization is bad, they want Sharia law to overthrow the Constitution of the United States of America. They think that every nation should be an Islamic nation. These people are a direct threat to the United States of America. This video is brought to you by TatumStore.com, TatumStore.com, so make sure you check out our store. Put capital with an AL, capital 20 to get 20% off. Get you one of these shirts today. Support what we're doing at the Capitol building. When I say support, meaning wear your support. And so you can show these leftists that it is appropriate and it's reasonable for us to protect the Capitol and make it safe again. So get you one of these shirts today, 20% off. And also we have a whole bunch of other bundles that we're doing. So go on and visit TatumStore.com. So let's talk about Islam real quick. This is where I want you to evaluate the people that you love and follow. You may not agree with everything that you listen to from everybody you like. But when you hear a person talking about Israel and they don't mention Islam, that person should not be taken seriously whatsoever on the topic. If you hear a person lamenting over and over about how bad Israel is and how bad they are to Christians or whatever they say, and they don't have the same fervor, zeal, compassion, enthusiasm for how Muslims are treating Christians historically and even to present day, don't listen to nothing that they say. These people are just anti-Jewish. They don't care about Christian conditions. They don't care about the biggest threat to America. They don't care about the biggest threat to the Middle East. They don't care about the biggest threat to Christianity. They don't care about none of that. They only care about hating Jews. So, with that being said, let's talk about Islam. You know, I'm going to make this analogy. You don't have to accept it. Just because every Ku Klux Klan member didn't kill people don't mean that the Klan wasn't bad. Some people may have been a member, but they weren't the member that were hanging people and doing stuff like that. And I think the same thing about Islam. Just because there's a lot of peaceful Muslims, who I would argue that I have not met a non-peaceful Muslim. I'd probably be dead if I did, I guess. But I never met a non-peaceful Muslim. But that does not mean that Islam is not a problem. And I want people to understand that. You can call yourself a Muslim, but not practice the extreme, violent portions of Islam. I would bring on a person who is Islamic and bring on somebody who is different and have a discussion about it. Because I know there's people that are Muslims that are looking at me like, Brandon, I used to love you. Now you're saying this. Bro, like, I just think actions speak louder than words, bro. If you want to compare Judaism, Jewish, Islam, you want to compare the two, bro, where are Christians less safe at?
And I want to just pause it right there because you guys have heard me even talk about and address this on my show, right? And here's the thing. It's not the people of Israel that I have an issue with. It's the government and the way they're moving, right? Just as Brandon is saying, you know, there were people a part of the Ku Klux Klan. No, they didn't hang people, but they subscribed and believed in what the Klan was doing, right? They subscribed to the ideology of what was happening. Now, with the people of Israel, I don't think they're siding with their government and what their government is doing. And has their government been perfect? No, no government is. But we really have to keep it in perspective, right? Because there are some things that have happened. Like, you know, when Netanyahu went after Gaza, it was like, wait a minute, you were under a ceasefire. Why are you going after Gaza? Like, what is it now? Right. And that's why I said, you know, we really got to look at the government, because I know as Christians, we want to uphold the people of Israel. But at the same time, don't be blind if things are not being done properly. That's all I'm saying.
Islamic nations. Where are Christians most persecuted at? Islamic nations. Where will you get beheaded at and stoned to death right now as we speak if you somehow think you're going to proselytize? Islamic nations. Not Jewish nations, which is only one. I think there should be more Jewish nations, you ask me. Maybe we'll be more safe in the Middle East. Who putting vests on and blowing themselves up? Who have rules where they throw gay people off buildings? They're not doing it in Israel. I'm just putting it together. Can we put it together? All right, let's see what Charlie Kirk has to say about this, because I really do believe this, and I'm not trying to say nothing about somebody's religion. I do think that Islam in America, the ones who are extremists, are an incredible threat to this country. The extremists are an incredible threat to this country. Mm-hmm. The ones who peacefully doing their thing, they no different than anybody else. But the ones who say Western civilization is bad, they want Sharia law to overthrow the Constitution of the United States of America. They think that.
And you know what's interesting about those people? They live here. So you're benefiting off the United States, but at the same time, you want to destroy the United States. It's crazy to me.
Every nation should be an Islamic nation. These people are a direct threat to the United States of America. Period. Let's see what Charlie had to say about it. Roll the clip.
Islam will be spread by two ways: through the importation of Muslims into your country, or the spread of lower income, predominantly minority men. Would you agree with that? And
yeah, the left love Islam and they will import Islam, and we see that in Australia and in London. One of the major people in the Department of Education in London, he's literally an imam and a mufti. He's literally an Islamic scholar and an imam who preaches. You will see Islam make its way into the left-wing politics. That's one of the reasons the borders were open the last 4 years. It was intentional about changing the character of this nation fundamentally. The way to destroy America will be Islam, and this is very obvious in UK. Half of Americans are left, half of Americans are right, give or take. The only way for leftism to win permanently is to import a group of people that fundamentally hates the American freedom. That happens to be Islam.
Hey, in the comment section, I obviously don't have my comments up to see them, but in the comment sections, if you disagree with what he said, please give me information because I'm open to learn. But when I look at the ideology that Islam is pushing out there across the world, there are some good Islamic nations, right? I mean, for the most part, I think Abu Dhabi, I think, Dubai, Qatar. There's places that are the UAE. I think there's places where people can live and exist in a peaceful and safe manner, even in this Islamic state. But you don't have the same freedoms that you would have in a place that is open-minded to Christianity. I think, now Christianity does have a past. The Catholic Church does have a past, even though some people don't want to admit to it. Some of y'all need to be honest with yourself. The Catholic Church does have a violent past. The Catholic Church has done some genocidal things, okay, especially the Roman Catholics. Allegedly, according to Nick, allegedly. So I do think that everybody has their issues, right? The Jews have their issues, the Christians, the Muslims have their issues. But when you talk about modern day religious perspective, the Islam they have a lot more issues than anybody else, I have to say. Anywhere that there's Christianity, there's peace, there's love, there's hope in the name of Jesus, right? And anywhere where you see Islam, it's a toss-up. Anywhere there's Jews, it's peace. Just like Christianity, there's peace when there's Jews. And I'm talking about religious Jews. I'm not talking about secular Jews that don't know nothing about God in there. Some of them are nut jobs, just like anybody else. I'm talking about the religious perspective and the religious ideology. When it's bestowed or presented in certain places, you have peace. Why do you say that, Brandon? Israel is peaceful. That's the only Jewish nation. So that's peaceful. And they're not the ones doing the killing and thugging. In America, for the most part, peaceful. Europe, peaceful. Places where we've taken over, Christianity, if Christians are left.
Now, when Tatum says they're not killing and thugging, Israel's position is they're defending themselves, right? And here's my thing, and I've said this before when we're dealing with international matters. This is not our argument. The things that are going on between Israel and Palestine and Hamas, it's none of our business. It really isn't. Okay? People have been trying to help Israel for decades, even going up, close to a century now. And guess what? We could do everything that we could do to help fix it. And in 5 minutes, and I'm saying that facetiously, it'll be back the way it was before. Like we did nothing to help. It's a bottomless pit of trying to assist when they, as a nation state, because that's what it is, that's what Israel is, they need to figure this out on their own. So it is long-term, not short-term.
Left unabated or unkilled by Muslims, what will we have? Peace. That's all I'm saying. And I'll say this, there's a few places that's Muslim majority that are peaceful. And they're not going to be hate Christians and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, which one is the bigger threat? Okay. I thought you'd like to know that and be honest with yourself. Clip 2. And this is an imam. This is an imam, by the way. I think that's like a pastor in what a pastor would be, equivalence of a pastor in Islam. Roll the clip.
Change is coming to America. And what is Allah telling us? Kuntum khayra ummatin. You are the best of nations. You're better than everybody else. That's what Allah is saying. Let's work towards that. Let's work towards a Muslim mayor. Next election that comes in, nominate people for the school board of education. Next election that comes here, nominate people for the local township.
What we as Muslims want to implement here in the United States, we believe the Constitution should be replaced by the Quran.
First move that I will do, I will abolish the Constitution and I will establish the only logical and rational Constitution, which is the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
When it comes to spreading Islam,
they want to get
on a state level,
they want to get genocided. I don't know what you thinking. Say I just want people to be very clear. If you think Israel overreacted, which I don't think they reacted enough, to be honest, to what happened on October the 7th, I am waiting for and praying for the day that if these people try to do this in America and overthrow the country and the Constitution, you're going to think that Jesus came back. There should be so much violent resistance. You guys want to get wiped off the face of the earth saying that you think you're going to overthrow the Constitution of the United States of America to replace it with the religious document. Not over my dead body. I just want people to understand it. I will never allow this. This is the hill I die on in my lifetime. You can have your religious beliefs, have your little imams. You come to America thinking you're going to overthrow our government. That's when I got to put my foot up your rear. Maybe my 223s too. We a team. I will not accept this whatsoever in this country. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Roll the clip.
On a societal level, that method prescribed is jihad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed that the ones who don't accept the ruling of Islam, they must be fought.
Let's look at this other list. The list of countries where the Bible is restricted or banned versus the Quran. Let's play this. If you somehow think with all the stuff you heard that somehow I'm not. Oh, did y'all catch that?
Wow.
Go back. This country where the Bible is restricted or banned versus places that the Quran is banned. Play it for the people in the back smoking crack. Roll it. Pause it. If I do the math, what's the math, Nick? Is that 22 places, 22 different countries where it's either restriction or banned? Look at the name of those countries. Look at the name of the countries where there's restrictions. Would Brunei be one? My geography is crazy. Qatar, Yemen, Pakistan, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Sudan. Banned. Somalia, Libya, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Iran, Turkmenistan. That sounds like somewhere in the Middle East. Now, how many places ban the Quran? And y'all weenies keep playing around in America. I'm not gonna get overthrown. This gonna be. I'm gonna die on that hill before I let it happen. But you guys, you cowards, that came up with that fake term called Islamophobia. You cowards are gonna end up getting your whole country taken over. And I really do believe.
Now pause it real quick. Now, they've already stated, they're like, we need to run for school board. We need to have mayors, because they know politically, once they get intertwined into the government, they can overthrow the government. They've already done it in London, in Germany. And a lot of people will say, well, the Germans are, but they're slowly being outnumbered. In London, right now, they play those loud horns outside and people stop wherever they are to pray, on the streets even. It's disgusting. London is not a Muslim country. It isn't. It is a Christian country. But they have allowed themselves to be overrun and overtaken by a sect of Islam that wants to further the caliphate and put people under Sharia law. Like, this is their plan. Like, they have a whole plan. They keep telling us They keep sharing like, y'all are dumb. Like, and we're going the way of the dodo bird. Like, oh, they'll never be able to do that here in the United States. They're doing it. Have you seen Minnesota? Just saying. All of the Somalis that are there, all the criminal activity that's happening under the Somalis, that they have mayors and councilmen. They have a federal House representative that has her allegiance to Somalia, not to America. And in my opinion, she needs to be removed and deported immediately because she's said it out of her face where she's not covered under the speech and debate clause. Yeah. Yeah, you guys keep thinking we're not listening to you when you're out because that's how arrogant you are. Look, I'm looking forward to the deportations and removals. It's coming.
People need to wake up. This is a problem. Stop lying and acting like it ain't a problem. It's a problem. Now, if you want to say I'm a peaceful Muslim, then you're a peaceful Muslim. I accept that. There are a lot of peaceful Muslims. I think majority of Muslims are peaceful. But the small percentage are extremely violent. Let me say this too, before we go to the weekend. And I'm going to read some of these super chats. Somebody go, you don't know the full story of what Netanyahu did on October the 7th. You don't know either. It's a skepticism. You have a hypothesis. You don't know what Netanyahu did. If you know, then show me evidence where Netanyahu knew something. If you want to say, I believe he knew something about October the 7th, then it's fair game. If you want to say, I believe it's possible. I don't think it happened, but I think it's possible. It's not. Let me say this. If I was Netanyahu and I had a terrorist group brewing in Gaza that's like a threat to my people every day we wake up, it's a threat. We don't know if they're going to shoot rockets or blow up themselves. It's a threat. It's a pain in my butt. And they keep doing plots to do terrorist attacks on us every day for 20 years, just every day. And I finally caught him in one. And I'm not saying it's right that he did this, but I could see him doing this. Some people could do this and say, let him come on over here for the last time. And we're going to turn it into a parking lot because we can't turn it into the parking lot on speculation because the world don't believe me. Let them come over here. They do it and it's going to be all over and nobody going to have anything to say because you'll see how barbaric and cruel and evil these people are. I hope that he didn't do that. But if somebody had proof that he did it, that's not that shocking to me. It's wrong, but it's not that shocking to me. America do stuff like this all the time. Weapons of mass destruction. We over in somebody else's country cutting up. Ain't never was no weapons of mass destruction. So I could see countries doing that, and if they did it, it's wrong. But I wouldn't be shocked. Could there be somebody in his cabinet or somebody in a high position in the military that allowed it to happen and Netanyahu didn't know? That could be a possibility as well. Is it likely? I don't know. I don't think so, but it could be. Only way I would say that it's unlikely is if America wouldn't do it. America is the most crooked country. We have we do the most crooked stuff out of anybody in the world. But hey, complain if you want to. You ain't gonna do nothing about it. That's like that's like if your brother cutting up, but it's my brother. But if it's you versus me and my brother, then I'm picking my brother's side. America corrupt as a mother. But if it's us or y'all, we just corrupting together. Because I'll never not be behind my country, ever. They wrong as two left shoes in Afghanistan. So wrong, for the most part. They in all kind of stuff. CIA doing stuff, they ain't wrong. I can criticize them because this is my country. You better not say nothing about America. Shut your mouth. America's perfect to you. And if you don't like us, then leave. Corrupt it all.
And the they that he's referring to people that are Muslim in the Islamic faith, right? That want the jihad, that do support Sharia law. So I just want to put it in context, what he's saying. And he's not wrong, Yeah, America is definitely not perfect. I think we all can know and attest to that. But there's no place I would rather be right? And the things that are corrupt within our government right now, and the things that we know about can be fixed. Because see, a lot of this old regime, I would say, within our government, they're dying off. And they're terrified that we are going to wake up before we are overthrown as a country. They've been trying to overthrow the United States for a long time. This isn't the first time. It's just maybe in our lifetime that we're able to really see it, that the veil is really being lifted off of the corruption. And we are seeing it in real time. But they've been corrupt for a long, long time. And the only reason we really had God's cover is because there are people on this soil that God is trying to protect. And he will protect us. But it's up to us that he's protecting to make sure that we are holding other people accountable to do right. And with that, I wanted to thank Mark from the Soil for reposting the stream. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for reposting the stream. April Showers, thank you so much for reposting the stream. And Gibson for New York Governor, thank you for reposting the stream. So let's finish listening to Officer Tatum.
We don't like half of these politicians. I think half of our politicians, Democrats, are evil. They worship the devil. And some of them don't know they worship the devil, but they worship the devil. The devil is their God. Even the ones that lie and say they're Christians, their father is Satan. Just like Jesus said to the Pharisees. But hey, if it's us or you, I'm picking my country. Period. And I love Israel. If it's ever Israel versus America, I'm picking America. I don't even think I'll blink on that. I don't even think it'll be a half a second. No, it's America. It's America to the day that I die. God put me here. I was born here. My family members died here. They helped build this country. My ancestors fought in wars. This is my country. This is our land. And anybody that bless America will be blessed. Anybody that curse America will be cursed. Put that in your book. That's what the good books say. Because although God made that promise to Israel, we are now grafted into the promise. We are now partakers in salvation. We are now a part of the line of Abraham spiritually. So those that bless Israel and America will be blessed. Those that hate and do disservice to America and Israel will not be loved or not be supported. Too bad. I didn't make the rules. I'm not God. I'm not Yahweh. I just read the book.
Yeah. And he's not wrong in that, right? Now, this is a follow-up to this video. Now, just keep it in perspective. Everything that Officer Tatum just said.
Welcome, Your Honor, to the proclamation celebration of the Republic of Turkey. Please help me welcome Your Honorable Eric Adams, the 110th mayor of the greatest city in the world, Eric Adams.
Thank you so much, and it's always good being in the midst of my good friend, the Consul General, and having the ambassador here as well highlight the importance of the ceremony. And I'm probably the only mayor in the history of this city that has not only visited Turkey once, but I think I'm on my 6th or 7th visit to Turkey. And I see the beauty of Cappadocia, of Istanbul, Italia.
Okay, first of all, why are you over there? You're the mayor of New York City in America. What? But this is what Officer Tatum was talking about. These types of relationships. But this is also what the imams were talking about, how they're like, yeah, we need to get involved in politics. See, even though that gentleman that introduced the mayor, right? He's not the mayor, but he is close to the mayor, so he's got influence. And that's the thing that we need to see. It's like, okay, you may not be the mayor, but do you know the mayor? Do you have influence? Do you know the councilmen? Do you know the commissioners? Do you have influence? And these are the areas that we still need to get into, even if we're not in the seats, so that we ensure that people are holding and upholding American values, not the values of a religious edict. See, they live under a theocracy. We don't. We have a republic. Now, is the republic perfect? No, it is not. It is not. But we do not live under a theocracy where we live under punishments based on a theocracy. And people need to see Islam for what it is, because that's what it is. And Black Flag, thank you so much for reposting the stream. And he says, great day, Black America. Thank you so much for your salutation this morning. But let's continue. And again, what is Eric Adams doing in the Middle East? Sir, you are the mayor of New York. And at this point, I want an investigation. I want a forensic audit. Why are you over there? And who's paying for this? That's my whole thing. Because if you're the mayor and you're not, where's the money coming from to make all these trips? You're talking about all these different flights. I mean, people are very interesting and bold. Just you're telling on yourself, sir. You don't have a job outside of being the mayor where you're supposed to be visiting all of these Middle Eastern countries. And what is the reason for those visits? Like, what are we really doing? And Ty the Terrible, thank you so much for reposting the stream.
And the richness of your community. New York City is the Istanbul of America. We have some of the largest Turkish.
Wait a minute, hold on. What? When did that happen? That New York is the Istanbul of America? If y'all don't get that man out of office in New York, New York's on high alert right now because you got Mandani, right? You got a complete socialist that people are supporting. By the way, Al Sharpton's around him supporting him along with Spike Lee. So they're done. Their black card has been revoked, period, like forever. It's crazy. And Gibson from New York says the Middle East own NYC. Yeah. He says hotels, businesses, etc. Yeah, I get it. And they are paid off the mayor, apparently. Just because you have a large Turkish population doesn't make it their city. This is America. This is for Americans. And this is the problem that I see with a lot of these mayors. And see, people know if they can get the mayors, they can control the purse at the local level. This is why I'm just really encouraging everybody, please run at the local level, because you can really help and take care of people and affect their lives in a good way. What Eric Adams is doing is, it's horrible. It's horrible. And Gibson says it happened before him. Exactly. And he's just maintaining, right? And I get it, unfortunately, but he shouldn't be. You need to shut that down. But he has to maintain it. You know why? Because he's a part of the Democratic Party. I don't care if he does say he's running as an independent. We all know where his loyalty lies. We all know where his loyalty lies. And it's not with the American people.
Population. We're going to get everyone out of Paterson, New Jersey, and tell them to come to New York City. This is where you want to be, because this is where we appreciate the Turkey community. But we're excited about today. I think this is the second year that we are raising the flag here. It took 110 mayors before we are finally able to raise the flag of Turkey here at Bowling Green.
Okay. So he's even stated that it took 110 mayors to finally do this flag. And, and Gibson for governor did sign off on what I said. He says, right, we are raising the flag of another country on our soil. What are we doing? Are we conquered as a country in our small cities? But see, again, that's where it starts. New York, y'all got to shut this down. You got to shut it down.
çatma kurban olayım. Çehreni en azı hilal, kahraman ırkıma bir güne, bu şiddet bu celal sana olmaz dökülen. Kanlarımız sonra helal hakkıdır, hakka tapan milletimin istiklal.
Çağla, that was beautiful. She's a beautiful opera singer. Ne mutlu Türk'üm diyene, bayraklar havaya, bayraklar havaya. Bugün bizim coşkumuz, Cumhuriyetimiz kutlu olsun. Mustafa Kemal yaşasın, Türkiye Cumhuriyeti yaşasın. Thank you for each of you for being here. A round of applause to the NYPD. Thank you for each of you for honoring and coming today. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
my dear friend, Commissioner that I've known so.
Yeah. Thank you for coming to, the complete overthrow of our country from within, from the local level. I mean, this is wild, you guys, that this is being allowed. This should never be allowed for another foreign country to fly their flag next to ours, ever, for any reason. But we have spineless representation, and it starts at the local level, and this is on both parties. I'm not releasing the Republican Party from this, because y'all should have shut this down a long time ago, because you saw it coming. So I'm just wondering who's paying them off in New York, because apparently they're just non-existent within the state or the city. They're just not there, or they're just paid to stand down. It's one or the other. But it doesn't make a difference, because they're not standing up for America and American citizens. I mean, this is truly, truly sad, guys. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to cover some more news. I definitely have some more news on our AG and steps that they're taking, to help with these sanctuary cities. But again, thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, and we will see you on the other side.
At All Sides, we believe unbiased news doesn't exist. To get more clicks and make more money, media outlets often report news with a left, right, or sensational slant, either to suit their own agenda or because by telling us what we want to hear, we'll come back for more. Several news outlets in the center do a good job of portraying both sides equitably, but for the most part, American news media is biased. Bias isn't necessarily a bad thing. The key is to get multiple perspectives. But making matters worse, social media and internet search results are heavily filtered, showing us the most popular opinion or results that match our preferences and make us happy. That means we're all living in filter bubbles, where we're only exposed to viewpoints we already agree with, making us less informed and less tolerant of different people and ideas. At All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it? All Sides has created a patented, fair, transparent process to rate the media bias of hundreds of news outlets and writers. We assess each media source and rate them as far left, center, lean right, or far right, allowing you to quickly identify different perspectives. All Sides is constantly evolving our media bias engine. The more you participate, the better our ratings will be, and the better our news coverage will be. Go to allsides.com to get involved.
And welcome back. Thank you for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And so I wanted to get into some of this news from our Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and what she's doing regarding sanctuary protections in DC. So the AG Pam Bondi, emergency police commissioner, right, in DC, that's what she's doing right now, rescinds sanctuary protections. So she's actually been able to come in and roll back a lot of what had been put in place by the mayor. It's very interesting. You know, you do all of this stuff, you have a complete dumpster fire of a city, and you still want to blame everybody else and say, well, we just don't have enough resources. There's this, that, and I'm like, bro, first of all, there needs to definitely be more community policing within DC, right? Like the police should know the citizens that they are there to protect as opposed to just lording it over them, right? I think a lot of cities would benefit from that. And, you know, people might say, well, how can you say that? Well, I do have relatives in law enforcement. And what's interesting is when I go to the city that they live in and I'll say, oh, yeah, so and so is my cousin. They're like, oh, he's such a great officer. He helped me with this and that and the third. I'm like, wow. And I might run into 500 people that will say the exact same thing. That's the kind of policing that we need, where people really look at their officers as people that they can trust, people that they know if something's going wrong, they're going to be there to assist them. Because right now, that's not the environment we have for any police around the country. People look at the police like, okay, you're here to hurt me and harm me, and you don't care about protecting me. You're more concerned about your quotas. You're more concerned about, you know, putting me down. And I'm just saying that's just the mindset that people have, and it needs to be turned around. But Attorney General Pam Bondi named an emergency police commissioner for Washington, D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department and rescinded sanctuary protections on Thursday. So this was last week. So for the details, Bondi issued a new directive naming Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, Administrator Terrence C. Cole to assume the position of police commissioner for the duration of the emergency declared by President Donald Trump. Bondi's directive also rescinded any order limiting Metropolitan Police officers in their handling of unauthorized immigrants. Cole is now able to issue general orders, executive orders, and written directives for all members of the department, while Metropolitan leadership must attain his approval before issuing orders on their own. Okay, they didn't just snatched it up, y'all. So Mayor Muriel Bowser pushed back on the new directive in a post on X. A lawsuit was filed Friday morning by D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab against the Trump administration following the new appointment. There's nothing they can do. He's allowed to do this. Look, you guys created a dumpster fire in D.C. And now that somebody wants to come in and fix it, you want a lawsuit to stop them from getting the job done? Like, what is wrong with y'all? Let me take this comment from Unc really quick. He says, I thought Trump said we were English-speaking country. Wow, these people allowed to be on microphones, right? With a big PA system speaking everything but English. Exactly. But see, it's being allowed at the local level. And what Unc is referring to is that last video I played regarding the Turkish nation state that we are creating in New York City. What? If you live in the New York City area, you need to file all kinds of lawsuits. You need to bring the federal government in and say, no, this is American soil. What in the world are we doing calling this a Turkish city? What are we doing? Turkey has a country, and they can go back there. Like all those people there, we can deport all of y'all, and y'all can be happy in Turkey, doing whatever you want to do. But you're not going to do it here on our soil. Like I don't like it. I don't like little Italy. I don't like little Tokyo, little Saigon, Chinatown. I don't like it. Now, a lot of people be like, you're being racist. No, I'm not. We live in America. We don't live in China. We don't live in Saigon. We don't live in Tokyo. We don't live in Turkey. We don't live in Italy. We live in America. Now, if people want to share the background of the country they're from, that's fine. You can share all day long. You can have a store. You're not going to have a whole town. What? What are we doing? But let's get back to the other crazy going on in DC. So for context, since Trump issued the emergency directive on Monday for federal police and national troops to deploy in DC, many have questioned whether the move is warranted. Yes, it's warranted. Some believe the problems with crime and homelessness in the city warrant such actions, while others push back, calling it a racist narrative. Since Monday's directive, more than 100 people have been arrested and sweeps have taken place, clearing out several homeless encampments. Yeah, see, he's taking care of business. This is what happens when you're actually serious about taking care of the problem. What Trump is doing right now, what President Trump is doing right now. This is what happens when you're really serious about turning things around. Things get done. But see, for years, it's like, oh, we need more police. We just need more money. We just need more of this, more of this. And the problem continues to get worse. It doesn't get any better. Stop it. Stop it, DC. You know, I don't want to have to say it, but daddy's home, okay? And he's shutting it down, all right? And for everybody out there crying, he's a dictator, then you should have gotten it done before he got there. Stop whining and complaining because he's getting the job done where you couldn't. Period. You couldn't do it, and now you're mad. It's crazy. It's weird. It really is weird. So this is how the media covered it. Fox News, that's right by us, highlighted the stripping of power from the Metropolitan Police and the rescinding of sanctuary city protections while framing the deployments around the importance of cracking down on crime. The Washington Post, that leans left, headline called the takeover hostile, while the article highlighted the lawsuit and commentary from Bowser and Schwab, calling the new directive unlawful. He can take over the city. It's very lawful. And it's funny because Miriam Bowser was on an interview on Fox News and she said he could do it. She knows he can do it. It's crazy. So The Hill, which is Center, reported on a letter from Schwab to Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela Smith stating, "It is my opinion that the Bondi order is unlawful." That's his opinion, or her opinion, sorry, and that you are not legally obligated to follow it. What? The article also provided details about Cole's career history with the DEA, listing many of the places he was formerly stationed. See, it's very interesting to me how now they want to stand up and cry foul when somebody actually wants to take care of business. Ann Gibson for governor says, America is and always been for sale by our pathetic leaders. You're not wrong. And they bought Eric Adams hook, line, and sinker. They bought him. Whatever way the wind blows, that man is there. As long as you got $10 to give him. It's sad. And I'm saying it that way because that's just how he goes. That's just how he rocks and how he rolls. And, going from New York City to DC, it's the same situation. Like I said, Mara Bowser, she already said that the president has the right. He has the right to come in and do what he's doing. He's not acting out of order. And it made Gibson chuckle a little bit. He says, not overthrow. I know. It's crazy. It is crazy. Now, I wanted to start with that one, but there's a newer article, which I guess came out yesterday, and it says West Virginia, South Carolina, Ohio to deploy National Guard troops to D.C. So they're going to even have more troops deployed to D.C. So South Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia said they would deploy several hundred National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. in the coming days as part of the Trump administration's law enforcement takeover. So these governors are deploying their people there. So West Virginia aims to send 300 to 400 soldiers. South Carolina pledged 200. Ohio said it will deploy 150. The Republican governors of the 3 states said their moves come at the request of the Trump administration. So Trump must have reached out and said, okay, we need some more muscle. We need some more manpower. Can you spare some people? Can you send them here so that we can have that security? Like I said, because, the National Guard, they don't arrest people, but it's giving more security, right? So that the police can do their job. And I'm really hoping that the police take this opportunity to begin the community policing, not terrorizing people, but really going into these neighborhoods and talking to people and say, hey, we really want to start cleaning things up here. Where are the bad guys? And a lot of people, they don't want to rat people out, right? But they do need to have those policing conversations. Like I said, they've got to do the community policing part, because if they don't at least try to build that foundation, it is going to be an us against them mentality, and it will be there. And even if things get cleaned up, there will still be that bitter root of it's them against us and us against them, right? So for context, the Trump administration assumed control over the district on August 11th after President Trump said he would ramp up efforts to fight crime and homelessness in the city. That's all he's trying to do, is just take care of the city. It's crazy how people are like, no, you can't do that. So the takeover has seen FBI agents and National Guard units deployed to the street, setting up checkpoints and other operations. Trump and his administration have framed DC as plagued by crime, though commentators across the spectrum have debated whether the increased efforts are warranted or not. So here's some key quotes. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey said, West Virginia is proud to stand with President Trump in his effort to restore pride and beauty in our nation's capital. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine said none of the military police officers being sent from Ohio are currently serving as law enforcement officers in the state. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser wrote on X, American soldiers and airmen policing American citizens on American soil is un-American. Well, ma'am, if you had been doing your job, we wouldn't be here right now. Hands down. This is what we're talking about. If you had been doing your job, we wouldn't be here right now. But all you want to do is sit around and complain and say, I need more officers. I need more this. I need more that. Why isn't your city doing better? Oh, that's right. Because you put in policies to allow illegal immigrants on an already horrible situation that you had within your city. It was already bad. But guess what? You're listening to Democratic Party leadership. You're not concerned about taking care of the people in DC. And now you want to cry foul? Stop that. You're fired. You're fired. Gibson said, yep. Yeah, you're fired. I like that term by Donald Trump. You're fired. Go on and sit down somewhere. Figure it out. And she's somebody else who shouldn't be elected. And she's going to be up for re-election, by the way. And it's interesting because, remember how she's moving and how she's acting. Because she's going to want to try to get reelected, or the Democrats are going to want to try to get reelected. Don't put them back in office. And if you do, you get what you voted for, period. So this is how the media covered it. Media across the spectrum noted in headlines that troops being sent are from Republican-led states. The Associated Press, which is left biased, And some other outlets from the left framed the uptick in soldiers as coming amidst protests against Trump's takeovers. Reuters and Center wrote in its opening that Trump has portrayed the city as awash in crime. It is. Fox News on the right included at the end of its coverage that Attorney General Pam Bondi said that there have been 200 arrests made since the Trump administration took over law enforcement. They just took over last Monday. Y'all, it's just the 18th. It is just the 18th, and they've made over 200 arrests, or at least 200 arrests. And they have, I mean, and today, it's 8:30 in the morning. I'm just saying. 200 arrests. And you couldn't get this done on your watch, Muriel Bowser? Talking about, some of the things that happen. You see, oh, that's just a typical weekend. Nothing, crime should not be typical in the United States anywhere. First of all, let's just kind of raise the bar. Can we raise the bar? It's okay. People are just like, yeah, you can live in squalor. It's great. No, it's not. People are tired of paying taxes and working hard, and they have to literally walk over humans because the homeless problem is a grift. And what I mean by that is we have real homeless people, but we have other people saying, oh, I'll help, I'll fix it. And they take those millions of dollars and they never help the people. And then we end up with more people on the street and more enablement. What are we doing? But you want to sit back and get all the awards and go to all the meetings and do all these things, but you don't want to help anybody. You're not doing your job. You're not doing your job. Like, this truly needs to be a referendum. Truly, truly, it does. And Gibson, he's shedding tears. Yeah, it's crazy. And Dr. C says there will be a whole lot of flip-flopping once the laws in place are enacted against so-called leaders who are prioritizing for illegal. Exactly. Continued corruption. It is crazy. And Gibson says 0. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy what they're doing. And how should I say it? The expectations are low when you're trying to convince people that criminal behavior is typical. That criminal behavior, it just occurs. It just happens. There's nothing we can do about it. We just have to just kind of roll with the punches. No, we don't. We put people in places of authority so they make sure that we're safe, so that they make sure we're following the laws. But people get in there and they get their own self-interest, especially when it comes to the party, right? Then I'm not letting the Republican Party off the hook because they both do the same thing, Republicans and Democrats. But it's time to get the law and order in place. It really, really, truly is. I don't want to go over the summit with Putin and Trump. And Derek is laughing. It's crazy. It's like Stockholm syndrome. Like, it's okay. Crime is whatever. We'll be fine. No, it's not. Nobody signed up for that to be okay. It's crazy. Like I said, it's really a Stockholm syndrome mindset. It is a mindset that people have gotten into, and they are okay with criminal behavior. It's very crazy. So I wanted to I'll check out Christy Nome in a second, but I wanted to check out this article regarding Chat GPT-5, the future of AI or lackluster, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, and we've talked about this on the show, Chat GPT is about us. We've created it. All it does is it pulls information from what's already in the database, which is us. So OpenAI recently unveiled its latest ChatGPT 5 model, which has received mixed reviews about the future of AI and its capabilities. So the updated includes features like improving reasoning, increased transparency and safety measures, stronger coding and design abilities, and more. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said the product will serve as a PhD level expert in anything. After the release, many criticized the program's inability to handle basic performances, including doing math and accurately labeling a map. Others highlighted its ability to quickly program and code software. So, a new age of AI, an opinion from the Washington Examiner that leans right by is called GPT-5, an incremental intelligence, but a pivotal milestone for U.S. AI leadership, and said it keeps OpenAI ahead of competitors. An analysis in The Atlantic that's left said the new model was more likely to attract and retain users. It championed its usability and intuitiveness, saying it adapts to human preferences and is easy to personalize. Okay. An analysis in CNN Opinion Left said the release highlighted many existing shortcomings of generative AI and included a more terse personality and inability to answer basic questions. The post-millennial right reported that some users seek mental health support from ChatGPT, prompting Altman to adjust its personality feature and prevent young people from becoming emotionally dependent. And that is a thing because they're just like, I don't want to deal with people, I'll deal with a machine. But it's a machine. It has no feelings. Again, it's still us. Al Jazeera, that leans left, said users find the new ChatGPT 5 cold and unemotive compared with earlier versions. Yeah, because it's a machine. Again. What? It's a machine. Garbage in, garbage out. Like that's what we're using. That's what we're doing. So the future of AI, a Fortune Center analysis explained GPT-5's use of model routing to improve efficiency, which it said may shape AI's future, but could cause subtle contradictions in responses. Some outlets raised doubts about the product's value. Um, the CNN analysis highlighted concerns over OpenAI's ability to create consumer-ready AI, and Court Center reported that on Polymarket, the odds of OpenAI having the top AI model by month's end dropped by 75% to 14% within 1 hour of release. And there also is Grok that goodness, Elon Musk has on X. Look, he's drawing all these blanks. So, yeah, there's that too. So there are different AI LLMs out there. I'm glad that Sam is, doing his thing, but he's not the only shop in town. So shop around with the different AI programs you're using. Now, I wanted to tap into Gnome's report and just check it out. So it was a 1.6 drop in unauthorized immigrant population. That's a good number, 1.6 million, you guys. So Secretary Christine Noem announced Thursday that 1.6 million unauthorized immigrants in the U.S. have now been deported and left the country since the start of the Trump administration. The data, based on a report from the Center of Immigration Studies, CIS, which said their own estimate may be overstated. The nonprofit used data from the government's current population survey, which they called it CPS, to estimate that the unauthorized immigrant population declined from 15.8 million in January to 14.2 million in July. Noem said the numbers indicate progress towards safer streets, reduced strain on public services, and improved opportunities for American workers. The context: So the CPS survey does not ask respondents about their immigration status, only their birthplace and citizenship status. Interesting. Not their immigration, but that's kind of the same thing. Their citizenship status is your immigration status. But anyway, so previous estimates of unauthorized immigrants in the U.S. was around 11 million in 2022. It's crazy how the outlets covered it. Outlets on the right highlighted the number as fact, framing it as the Trump administration's achieving its mission to address illegal immigration in the U.S. Fox News right bias interviewed Noam, who said the numbers showed the genius of Donald J. Trump. She celebrated his tough messaging on illegal immigration and said 2.5 million Americans now have the opportunity to be employed. Outlets on the left highlighted caution from the CIS and other immigration groups who emphasized the number might be inaccurate. The Independent left-leaning highlighted other Trump admin efforts to increase deportations, including encouraging self-deportations and recent ICE raids. Newsweek, which is center, and the Hill that center also highlighted that the number may be inaccurate due to less authorized immigrants responding to surveys. You know, at the end of the day, I'm glad people are leaving the soil because, you know, American citizens are exhausted, they're tired, and we want our country back. We want our safety. You know, a lot of times, you know, people, they keep saying, well, you know, immigrants, they you know, they don't commit crimes and this, that, and the other. Yes, they do. They commit crimes all the time. You just want that fallacy. You just want to gaslight people. Lots of people committed crimes, even American citizens. But unfortunately, these scam artists, I mean, the scams are incredible. Like, I don't even apply to jobs anymore if I don't know the agency that's reaching out to me, because all they do is try to steal your information. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And you might go, what do you mean? Because my credit report, luckily it's blocked. But yeah, people try to buy things with my social. I know my social's on the dark web. Yeah. So that's why I don't mess with people. And tomorrow we're going to get into, you know, what's going on Tell It All Tuesday. I'm really excited about tomorrow's show. But I wanted to play one more video for you guys. Really just looking at feedback on the economy. I know groceries are still high. The Trump administration is still working on that. But I wanted to at least give you guys an update just to see where things are at.
Former Trump economic advisor and Unleashed Prosperity co-founder, Mr. Steve Moore. Welcome, Mr. Moore. The old debate was free trade versus fair trade versus protectionism. President Trump believes tariffs serve multiple purposes. What's the early verdict on his belief?
Well, Trey, let me first say that Trump has now been in the Oval Office twice. He obviously was president in 2017 and then 2021. And in both instances, you may recall, the left and all the Democrats said, oh, my God, we're going to create a second Great Depression. The stock market is going to crash. The sky is falling. And, of course, in both instances, the left was all wrong, and they haven't apologized. We had a boom in Trump's first term where the average family gained about $5,000 to $6,000 in after-inflation income. And now we're off to a great start in 2025. It's been 6 or 7 months now for the Trump presidency, and all of the economic signals are pointing north. They're all looking good, and you're right. Incomes are up we're talking about for the people in the middle, not the rich people, the people in the middle, by $1,000. And Trey, that's twice as much as the entire gain in 4 years under Biden.
Yeah, we are talking about the people who a bad economy impacts the worst, and that probably would not be me and you, exactly, but it's more likely to be me than it is to be you. There have been major trade deals struck, but China is still out there. So in your judgment, what constitutes a good deal for the U.S. when it comes to China?
Well, China's the toughest one, I think, because you just can't believe the communists in Beijing. I mean, there are a bunch of bad actors there. They are a country that is an adversary to the United States, a great danger to the world. They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal. So Donald Trump has to make sure not only that they sign the dotted line on a better trade deal, because their situation with us, they have incredible barriers to America selling products to them. But the real key is going to be whether he can get the verification that they're actually abiding by these deals. But I love what Trump has gotten with Europe. I love what he's gotten with the UK. And as you know, I've talked about this previously on your show. I've been somewhat of a skeptic on some of the trade tariffs, but they have really driven these countries to the bargaining table to create a level playing field that is very much in America's national economic and national security interests.
All right, let me ask you about the market. It's soaring, but doomsayers claim that we are headed for a crash. I mean, they always are, I guess. What's the truth? I mean, is this a sugar high or is this a real market high?
Well, I wish I knew what the stock market's going to do next, and then I'd be a very rich man. So I'm not going to make any predictions about where the stock market is headed. But I will tell you this. In Trump's first term, the S&P 500 was up 50%. The NASDAQ was up over 100%. And the Dow Jones was up over 50%. So the market likes Trump's policies. And so far this year, right now, we're at all-time highs. Now, I'm not going to make any predictions about where we're headed from here. But if you look at all of this investment that Trump is bringing in, he has hundreds of billions, he says trillions of dollars of commitments of countries and companies abroad investing here. If that happens, you're going to see a big boom in the stock market. But that's a big if.
He is very bullish on the amount of money coming in generated as a result of the tariffs. Let me ask you one final question. Reduced interest rates do make it easier to borrow. But does it make saving less attractive, or is it more complicated than my little lawyer mind can comprehend?
Look, what we want in our monetary policy is a stable dollar that holds its value, that is a strong and stable dollar. That's what Larry Kudlow and Art Laffer and others have taught us, Milton Friedman over the years. So that's what we need most. And under Biden, we had a herky-jerky monetary policy, remember, where inflation went up to 9.2%. We have to get away from that. The good news is, so far, the inflation rate has gone from an average of 6% per year under Biden. Now we're at about 2.5%. I'd like to see it come down a little bit. Americans are still concerned about the price of groceries. Now, the inflation rates come down, but the grocery prices are still high for people. So I still think we have some work to do to bring prices down. And the Federal Reserve Board has just done a lousy job. And that's why we've got to get rid of Jerome Powell and get somebody into the Federal Reserve Board who understands that growth does not cause inflation. Growth causes less inflation because you have a more boisterous economy with more production.
I think I know somebody in Washington that agrees with you on getting a new.
Yeah. So, like he was talking about Jerome Powell, and a lot of people think, okay, if it grows, inflation will grow. And it's like, actually, no. If you lower the interest rates, then you will actually put more money into the market and it circulates. And then there's more of that whole supply and demand kind of situation. And the supply will be able to meet the demand. And there'll be more competition, right? And that's the whole thing, where American products should be cheaper, key, and all of these other products from other countries will be more than the American products, to encourage people to buy American, to circulate our dollars in America. See, we have people even in our Congress that don't want to see America succeed. They want to see America fail. Sad, but true. And, I know Gibson said yep to the video when we started playing it, but I just appreciate the financial economist saying, we still need to get groceries down. Yeah, we do. Because, I came across the video and they were saying it was based on, something fake, but the guy did say something that made sense. If we'll use Walmart, for example, if they're raising the price of an American product compared to the price of a foreign product, right? Which one are you going to buy? You're going to go with the foreign product that's cheaper because you're in the mindset thinking, oh, the American product, that's higher. I don't want that. But what if they artificially increased it? And I'm saying allegedly. That would be messed up, right? But we have to really check and see what's going on. That's why I think we need to start having or going to stores that are, America first. And they're about, having products there that are made by Americans that we can purchase, right? Just saying. It needs to get done. And Sean, AI filmmaker, thank you so much for reposting the stream. Well, with that, we're going to get out of here. It's been a wonderful recap Monday, just, talking about Islamophobia, right? Or Sharia law, talking about what's going on in DC and also looking at how these mayors at the local level, how they are so easily sold out and willing to uphold another country in our country. Certain things just need to end. So remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you on the next one.